You won't believe this, but the people who stay silent on social media, who never post their lives, never update their achievements, never show their faces, and never reveal their daily moments, are often carrying a psychological structure far deeper than you imagine, and according to Jung, their silence is not emptiness, it is a loud message from the unconscious. The message most people never hear, because the quietest people on the internet often have the loudest minds, the richest inner worlds, and the deepest shadows, and their invisibility. Online is not a weakness, but a powerful psychological defense mechanism rooted in self-observation, introspection, and an identity that refuses to be shaped by external noise. The psychology of people who don't post on social media is far more complex than simply being private. Jung believed that every personality expresses itself through two forces: the persona and the shadow. The persona is the mask you show the world, your public image, the version of you shaped by society, expectations, and social validation. But the shadow is the silent side, the parts of you that stay hidden, the feelings you don't express, the fears you don't admit, and the truth you keep away from others. And the fascinating thing is that people who don't post on social media often reject the persona altogether. They refuse to create an online mask. They refuse to perform for attention. They refuse to be shaped by likes, comments, algorithms, and trends. They choose authenticity over appearance and silence over performance, not because they are antisocial, but because their sense of identity is rooted inward, not outward. Jung said that those who look outside dream, and those who look inside awaken, and the people who stay silent online are usually the ones who spend most of their time looking inward, managing their inner world, instead of curating their outer world. These people don't need validation because they are busy validating themselves. They don't need to show happiness because they prefer to feel it privately. They don't need to post achievements because their self-worth doesn't depend on public applause. Jung believed that certain individuals develop a highly active introspective function, a deep internal observer that constantly analyzes their own mind, motives, desires, and emotions, and this internal observer becomes stronger than their need to be seen by others. So instead of posting, they reflect. Instead of sharing, they analyze. Instead of broadcasting their life, they try to understand it. And while the world loudly expresses itself, they travel through their unconscious. In silence, their silence is not emptiness, but an inward journey, a journey that often makes them more emotionally mature, more self-aware, and more in tune with their personal truth. Jung explained that these individuals often fall into the archetype of the seeker, the thinker, or the introverted intuitive, the type of people who feel drained by superficial interactions and meaningless updates. They crave depth, not attention. They search for meaning, not followers. They want authenticity, not visibility, and this makes them uninterested in presenting their life on a digital stage. But there is another side, and Jung would say it comes from the shadow. For some people, the reluctance to post comes from deeper psychological wounds. Maybe they grew up in environments where expressing themselves led to criticism, so now they stay silent. Maybe they fear judgment or exposure. Maybe they associate visibility with vulnerability. Maybe they feel like their life is not perfect enough to show. Maybe they feel like they don't want to be misunderstood. Maybe they feel the world is too noisy for their quiet internal nature. Whatever the reason, Jung believed every silence has meaning, and every absence is a form of expression. Even not posting anything is a psychological signal, a signal that says, I am protecting something inside me that the world cannot see and doesn't deserve to shape. But what do these people really think about what fears, desires, and strengths lie behind their silence? What psychological patterns make them withdraw from the digital world? And what Jung says about their deeper consciousness and inner transformation that the world overlooks. Jung believed that the people who remain silent on social media often belong to a unique psychological category, where the unconscious mind plays a bigger role in shaping behavior than the external world even realizes. And one of the strongest reasons they avoid posting is because they are deeply aware of the tension between their true self and the persona the mask society expects them to wear. While most people unconsciously chase attention, validation, identity, and belonging online, the silent ones quietly observe this dynamic with a growing sense of distance. They see how easily people change themselves for approval, how quickly authenticity is replaced with aesthetics, how effortlessly the internet rewards performance over depth. And this creates an inner conflict because these individuals refuse to perform. They refuse to adjust their identity for visibility, and Jung would say this is a sign that their ego is not seeking inflation but integration, meaning they don't want to appear better than they are. They want to understand who they really are beneath all illusions. This inward, darker drive makes them resist anything that turns their life into a performance, including social media. Jung explained that true introverts and intuitive personalities are highly aware of the collective unconscious. The emotional wave shared by society and social media amplifies that wave with trends, comparisons, judgment, competition, and endless noise, and these individuals instinctively withdraw because the collective noise interferes with their individual truth. They feel overwhelmed, not by people but by energetic overstimulation. They need mental silence the way others need attention, and this need shapes their relationship with social media more than any trend ever could. Another powerful Jungian explanation is the concept of psychic energy. The silent ones conserve their energy instead of scattering it across posts, comments, engagements, and online identities. Jung believed that psychic energy is finite. What you give attention to grows, what you starve loses power, and these individuals are extremely selective about where their energy goes. They prefer giving their energy to growth, reflection, learning, creativity, self-improvement, and deep thinking rather than feeding the endless cycle of digital validation. And this is also why they observe more than they participate. Their mind is constantly analyzing the motives behind online behaviors. They wonder why people need to post every moment, why they depend on likes to feel relevant, why they fear being forgotten if they disappear for a while. And Jung would say this curiosity is a sign of their analytic unconscious, trying to decode the patterns of the collective psyche. But beneath their observation lies something deeper, a hidden wound in many of them, because for some people who don't post, the silence is not just preference but protection. Jung believed that the shadow often contains feelings of insecurity, self-doubt, and fear of judgment, and these individuals may have shadows shaped by experiences where being visible led to pain. Maybe they were criticized, mocked, rejected, or misunderstood in the past. Maybe expressing themselves was unsafe. Maybe opening up attracted unwanted attention. Maybe their creativity was belittled. Maybe vulnerability led to betrayal. The unconscious remembers every wound and recreates protective walls around them. So not posting becomes a modern form of emotional armor, a shield against misunderstanding, exposure, or judgment. It's not that they don't want to be seen, it's that they want to be seen only by the right people in the right way, in the right spaces. Jung said that the strongest individuals are often the ones who appear silent because they are fighting inner battles others cannot see. And for many silent social media users, the biggest battle is the fear of being misinterpreted. They care deeply about meaning, depth, and authenticity. They don't want their life to be reduced to a picture or a caption or a misunderstanding. They don't want to be consumed by people who don't know them. They don't want their identity defined by strangers, so they choose silence because silence protects their truth. But silence also reveals something else: their sense of individuality. Most people online unconsciously conform to social expectations, post what others post, share what others share, follow what others follow, and Jung believed that this conformity weakens the self. But those who avoid posting often possess a powerful individuality. They don't fade into the collective. They resist it, even if quietly, and in this resistance they maintain something most people lose: their inner voice, their core identity, their psychological independence. But their silence also comes with challenges, because Jung believed that avoiding the external world too much can create imbalance, and this leads to a crucial question: what deeper strengths do these silent individuals carry within them, and what hidden psychological struggles do they face because of their silence? And how does Jung explain the transformation they must undergo to turn their inward nature into a gift rather than a burden? Jung believed that the people who rarely or never post on social media carry both extraordinary psychological strengths and silently heavy emotional challenges, and the key to understanding them is recognizing that their silence is not passive, but deeply intentional. These individuals often develop what Jung called an individuated self, a self that does not seek approval from the collective, and does not measure its worth through external reactions. While many people feel invisible without social media, the silent ones feel most visible when they are alone with their thoughts, because their identity is not constructed through digital mirrors, but through inner reflection, meditation, and personal meaning. But this inner strength comes with a paradox, because the same psychological structure that makes them deeply authentic also makes them feel detached from the world. Jung believed that when a person leans too heavily into their inner world, they risk becoming alienated from external life, and this is one of the hidden battles silent social media users face. Their minds are rich, but their connections may be few. Their thoughts are deep, but their expressions limited. Their observations sharp, but their voice is muted, and while their silence protects them, it can also isolate them. Jung said that every strength has a shadow, and for these individuals, the shadow is emotional loneliness, not because they lack people, but because they feel unseen in environments where superficial interaction is valued more than true understanding. Their silence becomes their safe space, but it also becomes their cage. Another important Jungian perspective is the idea of the unlived life. Jung believed every person carries an potential, a part of themselves that seeks expression, and for people who never post, the unlived life often hides in creativity, opinions, emotions, and talents they never share with the world. They see things others don't, they feel things more deeply, they analyze what others ignore, and they hold wisdom that could impact people, but they hesitate to express it because their unconscious fears exposure or judgment. Their silence becomes a way of avoiding the responsibility of being seen. Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, but the silent ones often struggle to express who they are in the outer world, even though their inner world is fully alive. And this is where their transformation begins. Jung believed transformation happens when a person integrates the parts of themselves they suppress. The silent ones must integrate expression with privacy, creativity with protection, visibility with authenticity, and this does not mean they need to post every detail of their life. It simply means they must allow themselves to be seen where it matters in meaningful ways, by meaningful people at meaningful times. Because complete invisibility limits growth, and Jung believed the soul grows through conscious interaction with the world, not isolation. Their next step is learning to express without performing, to share without seeking validation, and to be visible without losing authenticity. Jung taught that the goal is not to eliminate the persona, but to make it conscious, to use it as a tool, not a mask. For silent social media individuals, this means creating a version of themselves that can show up in the world without betraying their inner truth. This could mean sharing ideas instead of personal life, expressing creativity instead of selfies, using their voice instead of shaping a digital identity that feels fake. And when they do this, something powerful happens. Their presence becomes magnetic, not performative. Their voice becomes impactful, not attention-seeking. Their silence becomes intentional, not defensive, and their identity becomes balanced, not hidden. Jung believed that the greatest psychological freedom comes from living a life that aligns with your inner truth, while still participating in the world, and this is the path silent individuals must embrace, because their silence carries wisdom, their depth carries meaning, and their inward nature carries gifts that the world quietly needs. In the end, Jung would say that the people who don't post on social media are not disconnected from life. They are simply connected to life in a deeper, quieter, more meaningful way. But their next evolution is learning that sharing their inner truth, even in small ways, does not weaken them, it strengthens them, because true expression is not about showing everything, it is about revealing what matters. And when they master this balance, they transform from silent observers into conscious creators, from hidden thinkers into powerful voices, and from isolated minds into awakened souls, ready to influence the world without losing themselves.